All right, it is 12 o'clock. I don't want to waste any more time. I want to introduce to you one of the people that I have so much respect for, Dr. Candace Singh. She's a former elementary and middle school teacher, assistant principal, curriculum leader, and superintendent. She's been superintendent in Fallbrook Union for 10 years, and under her leadership, her district has undergone an academic and cultural transformation. They have the highest growth in student achievement in district history. They've changed the culture. And what I can tell you about her personally, I met her as we were doing a presentation for Girls in STEM. I showed up early to get everything set up because I'm a former educator. And she was running around helping me set up the tables. At first, I thought she was an admin assistant because how many superintendents are there setting up for an event? But I can tell you that Dr. Singh does truly believe that she will do what our students are worth, whatever it takes. And that's what she does. And she's also bringing with her Christy Nees, an amazing teacher that you'll learn from. So, Fallbrook ladies, take it away.
Oh gosh, Cindy, thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. It is such an honor to be with you this morning, and I'm going to share my screen to get us started, everybody. My name is Candy. I am the superintendent of the Fallbrook Union Elementary School District, as Cindy mentioned. And we could not be, Christy and I could not be more proud to be with you this morning. For those of you who were able to join in this webinar today, and then maybe for those of you who might be watching this at a later time, I want to start out by just extending my heartfelt gratitude to every educator who's on this call this morning or this webinar. This has been an extraordinary time, as we all know, and in my 32 years of working in public schools, um, I couldn't be more proud right now of the work that my team and I are doing, and of the work that folks like you are doing on for the benefit of your students, whether you're here in the States or anywhere else in the world and observing now. I'm sending my heartfelt gratitude and peace to all of you. So this morning, Christy and I are going to share with you just some of the things that we're doing here in Fallbrook related to PBL and the work that we've started. But I want to ground it in the context of really what matters now. You know, it was literally a year ago this week that we made the decision to close our schools. And at that time, we truly, as most of you know, couldn't even begin to imagine what was going to be in store for us as educators in schools. But what we knew is as time went on, we, as all of you, I'm sure, started to consider is, you know, how are we going to keep our kids engaged with us as we look to a virtual method of working with them? What is going to be the thing that's going to get them out of their beds in the morning and wanting to continue to engage with us, knowing how much our kids have lost by not being able to be at school and be in a school setting? And so we really decided to take a close look at that and set some goals for ourselves for this school year. So just to give you some context, the Fallbrook Union Elementary School District is located in the beautiful part of the United States, which is in San Diego County. If you haven't been here before, please put it on your bucket list. It's a lovely place to visit, and certainly a lovely place to live. But this gives you just a little bit of an idea of how diverse our school district is. We serve about 5,000 students in a very diverse community. And one of the things that makes us really, really unique is we have about 25% of our students are military connected. And we have two big schools aboard Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton where Christy teaches, and she's going to show you some of the great work she's doing at San Onofre School in just a minute. So as we were thinking about what do we want to be committed to this year to keep our kids engaged in school, whether it was in a virtual instruction when we were hybrid, and now we are fortunate to have the vast majority of our students are back 5 days a week for face-to-face instruction. But we knew that we needed to help our students continue to make personal connections to what they're learning. And we know that when we honor children in that way, and young people, when we take their personal interests and their passions into consideration in the content that we teach, we know that children have deeper learning, and we know that it's much more engaging and relevant to them. So we're going to share some ideas with you today about how we have committed to helping our students have personal connection to the content they're learning. How are we taking the skills and the content, the knowledge that they're learning? How are children able to apply that in really meaningful ways? We're committed to helping our kids be connected to their classmates. That true classroom community is one of the reasons kids come to school. And then last, we're going to just give you a couple of examples about how we're helping kids make connections to career as well. So we've just put together this little brief video rather than having a little talking head in the screen all morning this morning. We thought we'd share with you pictures and images of our students and our commitment to these three areas with some of the work we were doing before we shut down. So you'll notice no masks in any of these, but we're excited to share this with you.
The Fallbrook Union Elementary School District is committed to and passionate about making personal connections with every student. And it is through those personal connections that we keep more students engaged in school, whether virtually or in person. One way we deepen our connections with students is by using a project-based learning approach. This approach helps create learning opportunities that are more relevant and meaningful to students. It also helps them form stronger bonds within their classroom community. And lastly, provides them with a vision for the future by making career connections to what they are passionate about. We believe creating personal connections to the content students are learning, connections to their own classmates, and lastly, connections to their own future and career keep our students engaged in learning while also honoring their unique abilities and interests. The first area of focus is helping our students create personal connections to the content they're learning by incorporating student interest and choice in solving real-world problems. Interest-based learning takes place throughout the entire Fallbrook Union Elementary School District. Student interests and strengths fuel their own learning choices. Through the use of a computer-based strengths and interest assessment, our teachers are able to facilitate project-based units of instruction that incorporate students' voice and a choice in the content they are learning. By providing the opportunity for students to solve problems that are meaningful to them, our students are motivated to deepen their own understanding of the content and find their work more interesting, meaningful, and worthwhile. The second area of focus is helping our students make personal connections to their classmates and to the classroom community. Our students' social and emotional needs are just as important as their academic ones. Our project-based learning approach provides our students with the collaborative environment they need to learn critical skills such as listening, compromise, flexibility, and accountability. Through collaborative learning, as groups tackling and solving authentic and real-world problems, our students learn to excel as a community of learners, where everyone is honored for their unique traits, skills, and interests. The last area of focus is helping our students make personal connections to the careers that they may consider for their future. In FUESD, we know that students can't be what they can't see. By connecting the content students are learning to their unique interests and talents, we work to give them a vision of how they can make a difference in this world. Career exploration through project-based learning opens up a world of possibilities for our students by helping them see a life beyond school. These thoughtfully developed projects allow students to apply essential skills and knowledge, as well as connecting them to their careers of the future. This is just one of the ways that FUSD teachers are creating meaningful, engaging student opportunities in the classroom. At Fallbrook Union Elementary School District, we understand it will always come down to personal connections, and we are proud of our project-based learning approach that connects students to their content, classmates, and careers every day.
Okay, everybody. Well, let me get out of this video and back into our slides here. Let's see. All right. Well, we, Christy and I are so pleased to just share some very specific examples with you, particularly Christy, but I want to just make a couple of additional a couple of additional comments here. Let's start for just a minute about the choices that our teachers are making with the content that they're teaching. We know that choices, teachers, folks who are teaching in the classroom who are on this webinar today, you have lots of choices about what you're working on with your kids. One of the most important things is, as you think through what Jay was talking about the choices we make regarding curriculum, what we looked carefully at in our district is related to, we knew that we lost a lot of instructional time with our students. And so our teachers worked in teams across our district and with district leaders to really think through what's most important now. That we are focused on what are the most essential skills and knowledge that the kids need to know, so that we can then take those critical pieces of information for the kids, and then how can we take that and help them apply that to things that they really care about. And then spending some time articulating between grade levels, which is also very important. What's going to be most important now for how students are going to transition into next year, hopefully when we're fully back with students, with their teachers in a full instructional day. So that's one of the things that I think we have to be, all of us, encouraged to do, is really focused on what is most important now. Then the choice becomes hopefully we're building in the opportunity for student choice. Then it is, okay, once we've made the decision about what content, skills, and knowledge do we want our kids to know and what's most essential, how can we take that and make that really more personal and relevant to them? And that's where Jay was talking about so beautifully this morning, is that application of these essential pieces that we know kids need to have. How do we make this really relevant for them? And how can we help them maybe in an environment where they have choices about how they might like to learn it and how they might demonstrate what they've learned. So that's a couple of big ideas related to content that Christy's going to talk to you about in just a second. One of the other things I think is important in our district, and I know is likely very important to you, is we know that lots of kids come to school because of their classmates and their friends. And that has been one of the most difficult things for us, I think, is looking at how isolated many of our students have become during the course of virtual learning, and ways that we are committed to keeping our kids connected to their classmates and to their classroom community. So we did a lot of work in the beginning when we were in all virtual instruction. This idea has always been very important to us in our school district and to our teachers. But what are some of the things that we wanted to really prioritize in these different learning environments, particularly? We know that many kids come to school because of their friends, but we also know that their social emotional development, as far as the building of community, is very critical to our young people. So we incorporated during our virtual instruction lots of dynamic technology, screen sharing, and breakout rooms, so that we had the opportunity for children to be able to still work with each other and not just everything on their own. And our project-based learning approach and the way that we've designed opportunities for group work, we just feel really strongly that this gives an opportunity for kids to construct meaning together, and then to really work on those critical skills of collaboration and compromise and flexibility, which we certainly have all been tested in our flexibility over the last year. So connections to classmates has been another priority of ours, and it's one of the reasons why we believe a project-based learning approach is so important, because we really believe that these skills need to be a part of what our kids are doing. So last, everybody, content. We wanted to help our kids make connection to content, to their classmates, and then to thinking about their future. You know, one of the things that's special about our district, we have for the last 7 years or so, have taken a focus in our district about in helping every child develop as a learner and as a leader in their schools. We believe that every child can lead, and we create opportunities to explicitly develop their leadership skills. And then how do those leadership opportunities contribute to the difference they want to make in the world? And so how we connect our students' leadership opportunities to thinking about what's possible with their careers. And as my dear friend Cindy Moss always says, is you can't be what you can't see. So we work with our kids about what problems do they want to solve and helping them see career opportunities that they never would have seen before. Just knowing that there's the opportunities and the career pathways for students are very different than they were for many of us when we were young. So how do we take the content kids are learning and connect it in that real world application? There lives this beautiful place to connect it to their potential career aspirations. And it's one of the reasons why we loved the use of defined learning, because the career connection is very explicit. And Christy's going to talk to you a little bit about how she does that in her class. So I'm super proud to introduce Christy Neese. She is so representative of the remarkable teachers that we have in Fallbrook. And I'm really honored and proud to introduce Christy to you today to share some classroom examples of the way she uses these concepts in her class. So Christy, take it away.
Thank you so much, Dr. Singh, and thank you to all the attendees who are here today. This is a very exciting opportunity to share some exciting things we're doing here at in Fallbrook School District. So as Dr. Singh was saying, having students be able to connect to content is something that we're able to do very well with the defined learning projects we're using. So for example, one of the projects that my class is doing right now through defined learning, it was presented to them in such a way through defined learning that cereal sales have dropped, and their problem to solve is how can we sell more cereal and what can we do to get the cereal sales to go back up. And the project they're doing is they're designing new cereal boxes. So in this instance, I was able to go into defined learning and choose the standard of geometry, look in 6th grade math, and find different projects that I thought would be appropriate for my class, easing them into doing these projects for their first time this year since we're back at school. So we picked a project as a whole class to do. Product design is built into the project, which is encouraging innovation with the students. And by that, I'm saying when students are presented with this idea that why are cereal sales dropping, they get to talk together in their groups and decide what it is that they think could be causing cereal sales to drop, which was quite interesting conversation to hear my students have, because they had some really great ideas, and nutrition came into it as people are eating fewer carbs these days. And so it was a very interesting conversation to hear my kids have. And I learned the way they think in listening to that aspect of it. And then the product presentation, their evidence of learning. One of the things that's built into the defined learning projects is students really can present their evidence of learning any way they choose. The one that we're working on now, there are actually 3 products that they make. One is, the first product is that they have to do 2 different sketches of a cereal box design that they're going to present to their employer. Then the other product is they actually have to make a prototype of one of those designs. And then the third thing they do is they pitch the box as if they're pitching it to their employers, again, a panel. We had them pitch it to their families and record it. There's various ways that they could do that, or they could present it in class, make a poster board, make slides, whatever they're comfortable doing to show their work. So that is the student choice part of it. After this initial project, students will be able to choose other projects based on maybe criteria that I give them, saying these are the standards we're working on, or based on career choices that they have, or career interests. I won't say choices, but career interests that they've identified for themselves through other programs that we work on here at school, that they maybe can look at projects that relate to those careers and go from there. So that is the connection to content, I think. If we can go to the next slide. Right. So this is, as I was explaining, this slide is just showing a screenshot of the defined learning search results when we searched in 6th and 7th grade math, the topic geometry, and we came up with 19 projects. And from there, we went through and looked at each of the projects and decided to do the cereal box one as our class project, if you will. Even though everyone's doing them individually and in groups, it's still our whole class is working on that same project, which is nice because we can support each other and through the process. So that is yes, we can go to the next slide. And then again, here's students beginning to work on the projects or in one of the stages of working on the projects. They did do some of their work. We, as Dr. Singh was saying, we started the year remote and full distance learning. Then we were in a hybrid model, and now we're back on campus. So we were doing it in both places. And so this is when we're back on campus, but our groups of 4 allow us to have still remain distance while they're working together. These pictures are just side by side, but students are far from each other. And they asked if they could take a cereal box apart. And it's their project to figure out how they're going to tackle it. And in this case, they are drawing. You can see they're looking at other boxes on their Chromebooks, and they're taking apart a box so they can get some ideas of, how a box really is put together, because those are things that kids don't typically think about. So it causes, and it connects to what Jay was saying with students need to acquire the knowledge and understand the problem before they can transfer it to other things. And so this allows students, I think, really to go through those processes. We can go to the next slide, Dr. Singh. And again, this is one of my students sharing. This was part of their project, how they shared with one another. I think there's a short video here, I hope.
Hello everyone, I am going to be sharing 3 facts about making your cereal box. The first thing that you need to do is make sure to make it fun, because it's gray and white and it doesn't have any color. Then they're going to buy the ones that are fun, like Lucky Charms has a little green man, rainbows, and unicorns. So you should also make it colorful, and then you need to make it just the right size. If it's a circle, then they're not going to stack on the shelves well. If it's a rectangle, like most cereal boxes, it's not going to stand out. And make sure it's good for everyone. It's good for the environment, and it doesn't have lots of plastic, and it's not full of sugar. I hope this helps. Bye.
Yeah, so those are just some of the things that my students came up on their own with those problems that they identified, that they were concerned that when they took the boxes apart, there was plastic inside them. And that's something that we talk about a lot in class, is that our campus happens to be right on the ocean, and we talk about plastics ending up in the ocean. And so that's a concern that our students discuss often. And also we talked about different shapes, and like she said, a circle, and she's of course means a sphere, but how fun it would be if you could have round sphere shaped cereal boxes, but it wouldn't be very practical. So they're thinking of new ways of doing things, hopefully without the constraints that and the beliefs that we have ingrained in ourselves as adults. They don't have necessarily those constraints built into their thinking, and so it's kind of the sky is the limit for them. And so that's an exciting thing, because I think that is how innovators are born. And that's what we need. That's what we need moving forward in our world, is people that can solve problems, real world problems, and contribute new and positive things to what we do. So student collaboration, again, the connection to classmates. When we put our students together, put my students together in groups of 4. I chose the groups in this case, just for teachers know obvious reasons why we choose the groups that we choose and how we put them together. But in the future, they may have the opportunity to choose who they work with. But having defined roles with their groups is really helpful. So there's a team manager and a logistics supply person and maybe a scribe, just so they all have a role in the group. And it helps the group, the cohesiveness of the group, and the success of the group. And so again, the breakout teams of 4, that also allowed for, while we were in distance learning, that they could easily be in a breakout room together. 4 is a manageable number of students to be kind of on their own, because as a teacher, you know, if you're doing breakout rooms, you have to check into each of the rooms separately. And so there's periods of time where the students are kind of in there on their own. So having a team manager is very important, and also keeping the groups in, manageable sizes. And then the final project, so this final product, the students they all came up with their own prototype design ideas. And then they could either, as a group, all make the same design and see kind of who came up with the best version of it, or how they could improve upon each other's versions, or they could all choose to do one individually that they themselves had designed. So, and I had a combination of students who chose both ways. So yeah, that allows them really to connect to their classmates in that sense. And then this is, again, the students, when they're at home they're in their own breakout room here, and one of them is presenting their screen, and they're talking about a 2-dimensional net of a 3-dimensional object. And this was in the very beginning stages of the project, when they were kind of deciding how they would design their boxes. So, and then finally, the connection to careers. In just this one project of designing the cereal box, these careers all apply to that one project. And so research and design, graphic design, transportation, distribution, and logistics of supplies and product as well, manufacturing, and marketing and advertising. In the end, students had a choice. Some students said, can we actually design the cereal that goes in the box? Can we create a cereal? And of course, yes, you can. This is what we want. We want them having choice in what they do. And some chose to pitch the design of their box. Some chose to pitch their graphic design. Some chose to pitch their cereal, the product in the box. So again, that's choice. It allows them to have some agency in the whole process. So we're loving it. My students are loving it, especially after so much time being home and online, just being able to connect with their classmates in these ways and hands-on. It's really exciting for them. So thank you very much.
Christy, thank you so much, dear. I always am. Of course, I'm always just so proud of our teachers. Christy, thank you. It's just a really, really small, brief example of the kind of work that we're doing across our district, everybody. And we are getting better and better at it. These are new and, unique ways for some of our teachers that haven't been working in a project-based way before. So Christy is a good example of the continuum that we're on in our district. So we're going to leave a little bit of time for questions at the end here, or some discussion if that's helpful. But I really did want to close with some things that I think are particularly important to us in our district, and to me as just an educational leader, and some ideas that I'd also like to leave you with in this conversation today. And as you listen to the remarkable examples of the work that's going on across our country, I'd like to leave you with one last C. The first one was connections to the content, to the class, our kids, to their classmates or to the classroom community, and to career, which are all, that integration of those ideas are really important to us. But I really, really have a very strong bias, and I know that many of you too, that really none of it actually happens unless children have connection to caring adults at school. And so when I just want to share just briefly with you, on the very first slide that I showed you, it said, what matters now? And that actual question came from a conversation last April that I was having with my daughter. My daughter is working on her PhD at Rutgers, if any of you are from that part of the country. And she is a childhood studies major, and she's doing a lot of work around girlhood development. That is her focus for her PhD. And so she has a very strong interest in how children are, how children develop, and particularly the role of education in how kids grow up. So she said to me, Mom, this was in April of when we closed. And she said, Mom, we all need to and teachers need to be asking themselves, really, what matters the most now? It is it was a very scary time for lots of folks. We didn't really know a lot of what was happening. We knew, right, all of our schools were closed. That had never happened before, right? And so when you think about, we were really in a mode in our district of really wanting to make sure that we were making a personal connection with every child. We knew that that was going to be the most important thing. Where are our kids? Are they all still with us? Do they have everything they need to be able to connect with us in a way that they really had never universally had to do before? And we spent just countless hours every day making personal connections. Every teacher in our district called every child and family personally every week just to make sure children were doing okay. But that question really got me thinking over, the course of the next several weeks after that conversation I had with Hallie, that what really does matter now. One of the things that she, in that conversation she was talking about is that, schools are very compliance driven places for the most part, in most schools, not all schools, but in the sense of you sit in a certain place, you can use the restroom at a certain time, you line up a certain way, you put your papers in a certain box. And it's really the step-by-step kind of compliance-driven environment. And now what really matters, kids don't get dropped off at school and get on the bus and come and then have to be plopped in a very compliance-driven environment. As we think about the environment that they are in, what is it that we're going to do to motivate children to get up and get with us in the morning? And how are we going to foster that sense of independence and the sense of stick with itness and grit that it's going to take to have kids get up every day and do this with us? And so it's really what got us thinking about why and how we come to this place of really wanting to prioritize relevance, meaning, and personal connection to what kids are learning, because we really believe that that's what's going to keep them engaged in school. But as I close with my comments, this is what I would hope I could just remind all of us. We know this, but it really is the personal connection that a child has, a young person, a young adult has to the adults in the school that will help them be successful and will keep them coming back to work with us. And I really believe that every one of us can be that person. We can be that caring adult for the kids. We can have all the most beautiful content. We can have all the most beautiful projects in the world planned for our students. But if they don't believe that the people at school really care about them, they're not going to keep coming. We know this in a regular setting. We know this even more virtually. What are the things that you're doing every day to make a personal connection with your students? We really believe, and I believe strongly, that when students are empowered to make choices and are given the autonomy in their learning, and when their interest in what they really care about is a part of what they learn, that is how we can make personal connection. And it's also it demonstrates that we actually see them and we hear them and we design learning experiences for them that take it into account, and that it honors who they are, their uniqueness, their differences, their abilities, their culture. Honoring our kids every day by how we make them feel valued is how our students are going to continue to stay connected to us. So these are just a few little examples of the work that goes on in our district, and one I'm so, so proud of as the superintendent here for 10 years. Um, our teachers, our support staff, we have school counselors in all of our schools, and our administrators really come at the work that we do from a heart of wanting to really honor and value our kids so that they know and they'll continue to stay engaged with us and continue to work hard. So I just want to end that in that way for all of you. Our kids, when they feel valued and seen by you, they're going to keep coming. And I think a project-based learning approach really is a place to lift off from that starting place. So again, my heartfelt gratitude and I extend just peace and good wishes to all of you in the work that you're doing across the world on the benefit of the young people in your communities. And we appreciate the opportunity to get to share our little corner of the world here in Fallbrook. So Cindy, thank you.
Thank you so much, Candy and Christy. The comments are all amazing. They're so impressed with what you're doing and happy that you shared with them. And we are always happy to be partnering with you. I told you guys you were going to see that Candy believes our kids are worth whatever it takes, and that's what you heard in that presentation. There's another quote I heard once that students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's what you guys exhibit at Fallbrook. And Candy not only cares about the students, she cares about the teachers. And so, teachers and principals out there, you can see why, as an administrator or a teacher, you would want to work for her. So, Christy, we're happy for you that you get to teach in Fallbrook. And Candy, we can see why you've had such an amazing impact on achievement and culture and just general well being of the kids who are lucky enough to be in your district.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you so much. If there's any questions, Cindy, we can answer. We have a couple minutes. I'm happy to do that. Or it might be a nice time for another break, whatever anyone wants to do.
And you guys you have Candy's email. We'll also include that in the follow-up email, because if you're anywhere near and you would get the opportunity to go visit Fallbrook, it will restore your hope in what's possible for schools, because they're doing for kids what every kid deserves in this country. So I don't see, people are just saying they appreciate your passion, they appreciate your leadership. You guys are just STEMtastic. And thanks again so much for doing what you did. And I think we will take a break. We'll be back in 23 minutes. And next, we're hearing from the Tennessee STEM Innovation Network they're a group that's using STEM and PBL across their state. So please come back and join them. They're also courageous leaders, and you'll be excited by what you see there. So thanks again, Fallbrook. Enjoy your lunch, everyone, or your break.
Beautiful day. Have a beautiful day, everybody.
Yes, we'll see you soon. Thanks.